Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to talk about 5 directors who I think could be nominated for Best Director category in the Academy Awards. And then I'll tell you why I think that Patty Jenkins should be the one to win. So let's go. You got James Mangold. You got Jordan Peele. You got Catherine Bigelow. You got Christopher Nolan. And you got Patty Jenkins. Alright, that's 5. Probably be more for the end of the year. We know there are only 5 categories, so you'll have to still pick 5 out of them. Why Patty stands apart from all of these other directors? Well, let's first give a little background into these directors. So, James Mangold and Jordan Peele never won or never had anyone in their given film win an Academy Award. Okay? Or none of their films that they were in won an Academy Award. But they're still respected. James Mangold has a body of work, very respectable director, and Jordan Peele's just getting into it. But he was an actor, comedian, and he still is. Now, when you look box office, there's no doubt that this had mass appeal. Logan had mass appeal, so therefore James Mangold, he has a case. Not only is it a good film and solid, but also, and he's in great directing, but it's box office, it did very well. It's the same thing for Jordan Peele. In fact, it's the greatest thing with Jordan Peele because he had a very low budget movie, $4.5 million, that grossed a huge sum of money for Universal. Okay, and it's not just a horror movie, it's a horror movie with social commentary about racism. So there's depth to his stuff. As with James Mangold's Logan, which talks about more or less the same thing, ostracization because of differences, not differences in race in this case, but differences in genetics. So it's kind of movies along the same line there. And then we have Oscar-winning director Catherine Bigelow, who won an Oscar for the film The Hurt Locker. Okay? And so she's had a history with the Oscars. She's now basically exhibiting her film Detroit. And Detroit is, again, about race relations back in the 60s. And basically we're looking at, it makes us have an insight into how much has changed from then till now. It's a very timely film, and I gotta admit, she's a hell of a director, so expect really great stuff from her. Now, the next person is Mr. Christopher Nolan. Mr. Christopher Nolan has directed all kinds of films. He's never won an Academy Award, but he has, in one of his films, had someone posthumously win Best Supporting Actor in Heath Ledger. And so the Academy knows the caliber of director he is. And Dunkirk is doing quite well at the box office. That would be the film he would be Best Director for. And of course, The Dark Knight did massively well at the box office. By the way, The Hurt Locker also did massively well at the box office. $50 million it will cost to make, made $49 million, $19 million more than the break-even mark. So that's not bad at all. Okay. So the last person who is the exception to the rule is Patty Jenkins, and she directed Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is close to $400 million at the box office as estimated, close to $800 million as well worldwide. That is a serious movie, okay? Mass appeal. Broke the ceiling for all kinds of things. But Patty Jenkins is also known for the movie directing Charlize Theron to her own Oscar. You wouldn't believe this is Charlize Theron. Beautiful Charlize Theron looks like this. It's amazing. But he directed Charlize Theron to the Oscar in Monsters back in 2003. Remember, this is an $8 million budget film. And basically it makes $44 million profit. That's very impressive. And wins Charlize Theron Academy Award, which is really more a reflection of what Patty Jenkins could do than it is about Charlize Theron's acting. But that's okay. Point is, that's what Patty Jenkins does, and she has a history with the Academy. Now, having said that, let's see why Patty Jenkins, I believe, will win the Oscar next year. Nobody else can come close to her. The first thing is, who's she working with? When you look at all these other directors before her, they are actually working with established, experienced actors all the way through. Their entire cast is experienced. You can't say that about Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman. And the lead person who's supposed to be carrying Wonder Woman is not a very, very experienced actor who's grown up in acting. and Gal Gadot. That's one huge plus right there, that Patty Jenkins gets her actors to supersede what anyone expected of them and give some solid performances. One of which won Charlize Theron the Academy Award. That's big when you're talking about a director. Now, the second thing that separates Patty Jenkins from all the other directors we just saw was that all the other directors are not active directors. Patty Jenkins is an active director. What do I mean by that? I mean that she's coming from an idealistic point of view, some sort of theory or philosophy, and that philosophy will be reflected throughout the movie. So when you go, as Patty Jenkins said, you're looking at this movie through Diana of Themyscira's eyes. So this is going to be an opinionated film. This is going to be Diana's opinion of the world, or Zack Snyder's opinion of the world, or Patty Jenkins' opinion of the world. Because by using the main protagonist, you're really reflecting your opinion of what you think this character should be, and also your opinion and your interpretation of how the world should be. And because it's a superhero movie, it allows Patty Jenkins to use these idealistic points of view, because Diana doesn't come from the world we live in, but from another world where it's seen as somewhat utopian. And so from that point of view, Patty Jenkins is able to comment about our world and then give suggestions. And so Wonder Woman as a film, directed by another woman, is able to highlight things that people in Hollywood never really highlight about women and about the world in general. And since Wonder Woman is all about equality and love, you get that reflected in this movie and suggestions about it. All the other films I just mentioned have passive directing, in which the director is observing but not commenting on anything. In this case, you can argue that Patty Jenkins is making comments about the world we live in now through this period film, using the guise of Diana to do so, but without sounding too preachy, because she's allowing situations to direct the opinions of Diana. And that's the brilliance of the movie. So those two factors alone separate Patty Jenkins from any director this year, because no director can pull that off. The style that Patty Jenkins is using is what is called romantic realism versus naturalism, which all the other directors are using. And as a result, Patty Jenkins is able to get people to resonate with this opinion of Diana. And so we've had this huge blockbuster hit. So Patty Jenkins has pulled off two very difficult things. The first one, dealing with an inexperienced actor who has to learn more about acting while carrying on a pivotal central role. And two, and Patty Jenkins knowing how to exploit that. And two, she's coming from an opinionated view of the world from someone, particularly Zack Snyder herself and Geoff Johns, on what can be done, how we can change the world, how we can operate in the world. So there's those three things which are very difficult to pull off. You saw the backlash to Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. If you don't pull it off, it's problems. Christopher Nolan was the last person to pull it off, but again, he didn't give suggestions. All he did was, again, he gave choices and so on, but it was still more of a fatalistic movie, pretty much like Detroit will be. It'll give you some outrage, you'll feel a certain way, but as to your course of action, that you will not know what to do, because it doesn't suggest anything to you. Whereas Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman did suggest to you what can be done. On that note, you guys are great.